Good evening. Welcome to the board meeting, November 27, 2023. After a brief moment of silence tonight, our Kingwood Elementary Student Council, including Olivia Kelly, Maylee Hayes, Zachary McNair, Riley Bolyard, and Emerson Bradley, will then lead those that are here in the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag, followed by a school-wide broadcast to the board. So after we have a brief moment of silence, I'll say, okay, and then you guys will take over. So at this time, a brief moment of silence. Okay. Okay, come get
Want
it.
to use that mic? Thank you, Mr. Kisner. That's a little bit better than the one I had. Oh, that's central.
Good evening, and welcome to Kingwood Elementary School. Today is November 27th, 2023. I am Olivia Kelly, your Student Council President for this school year, and you are tuning into a special nightly edition of Stop News, our student-wide broadcast that is shared live each day with our student body. Tonight, Zachary McNair will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the school pledge. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our students are academically and socially successful. It is now time for our school pledge. I pledge today to do my best in reading, math, and all the rest. I promise to obey the rules in my class and in the school. I'll accept myself and others too. I'll accept the best in all I do. I'm here to learn all I can, try my best to be all I am. Time now is 6 p.m. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Zach. Now we will have Miss Beasley and Miss Brewer lead us in the stomp cheer.
Good evening, Kingwood Elementary School. Welcome to another evening. Won't you stand up beside your desk and join us because we're the Kingwood Stags and Stags. Stop, show, respect, take responsibility, overcome your problems. When you motivate to learn and prepare for success, all your dreams can happen. Make it a great evening at Kingwood Elementary School. Make your choices.
Thank you, Miss Beasley and Miss Brewer. Now we will have Riley Bolyard read the quote of Purposeful People. The purposeful people character trait for this month of November is courage. Courage is choosing what is helpful, right, and kind, even when it's hard or scary. Courage is not having the strength to go on. It is going on when you don't have the strength. By Theodore Roosevelt. Thank you, Riley. Now we will have Emerson Bradley reporting tonight's weather. Tonight's weather will be Tonight's the weather will go down to addition, 33 students have already reached their reaching stretch goals will also be entered into a drawing for a Walmart shopping spree. Thank you, Maylee. Zach, do you have any news?
Student-led data conference will be held on Thursday, December 7th from 4 to 6 p.m. After visiting their teachers, students will be issued a ticket for entry into PTA-sponsored Deck the Halls to participate in some fun holiday-themed activities, photo booth, limbo, and snowflake making, to name a few.
Thank you, Zach. To all of those in the audience tonight, we hope you enjoyed your visit to our school, and we would love to see you again soon. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening. Until next time.
What's it?
Lost her stand.
Yeah, it's
So
okay.
he's bringing it right there. Thank you, son. Appreciate that.
That was awesome. Thank you. That was great.
Makes a tough act to follow. And we thank you very much, everybody that was involved, and thank you for inviting us to your school tonight at Kingwood Elementary. We appreciate it. Ms. Ziegler, do you want to say anything?
We work with these kiddos every single morning. This is how we start our day. The news broadcast is live streamed via Teams. So all of the homerooms at school, they tune in at 7:35. It's a very brief but informative 5-minute broadcast while kiddos are eating their breakfast, getting their eye openers, things like that completed. But it just kind of brings us all together in the morning and provides a sense of unity. And seeing the kids kind of, they add their own personalities into the broadcast every day, and how they've grown just, in the short time that we've had them since September. It's definitely one of the highlights of my morning. So I appreciate all of the work that they do. Mrs. Ziegler, I appreciate all of the work that she puts into it as well. So thank you guys, and thank you parents for bringing them tonight.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Next on the agenda will be recognitions. At this time, Mr. Martin, I'll turn over to you for the introductions.
Okay, Mr. Huggins, we have two athletic teams from our other school that's being featured tonight, Central Preston Middle School. We're going to be recognizing, to start off with, the very successful seasons of the Central Preston JV and varsity volleyball teams. They had an outstanding season highlighted by both teams capturing the Preston County Championship. I know that both squads had an excellent overall record. They were involved in an outstanding fundraising activity in conjunction with Terre Haute East Preston. So they just, I would say Coach Weaver and Coach Bishop really did a great job of leading these young ladies, and they should be applauded for their efforts. If we would have the teams please come forward. The JV team members include Amila Zen, Kylie Barr, Scarlett Bell, Aubrey Welch, Macy Thomas, Isla Faciletos, Grace Estep, and Laurel Hess. Varsity team members will also be recognized tonight, and they include Callista Huggins, Magdalene Watring, Landon Rousey, Cameron Hayes, Addison Schaefer, Sophia Flowers, Marin Shrout, Kendra Rankin, and of course the team is coached by Mrs. Jamie Bishop and assisted by Lisa Weaver. I would actually just go turn the mic over to Coach Bishop and Coach Weaver if they would have a few things to say about the team. Absolutely. There you go, Coach.
I know I do short very well.
Hi, Doug.
Thank you all very much for having us here and recognizing the amazing accomplishments of these girls. 2 years ago, I decided to change my coaching resume. I left track and field at the high school and I moved on to volleyball. Really not knowing much about it other than the fact that I had coached, or I had played volleyball in high school, but I walked into a gymnasium one day with a bunch of girls and Coach Weaver, and they all do way more than I did. So I realized at that point we needed to come together. I needed to, start doing not just a team, but a family, I believe. In 2022, we were able to become county champions, so we achieved our greatness in that particular way. Then moving on to this season, once again, we moved into another fantastic season of working more outside the county. We played 7 out-of-county games this year, which was a lot for us, way more than what we did last year. One of the amazing accomplishments of that, I have to say, is that both these teams, the JV and the varsity, also beat the Monongalia County middle school champion teams. So, I mean, this was not just a team of girls that were playing on whim. These are a seasoned group of girls that really showed off what they are capable of, and I think that they are going to be, especially our 8th graders, absolutely fantastic leading up to the high school next year. We're looking forward to great things as they move forward. That being said, I'm jumping through here, Brad, I promise. I got a lot. Anyway, so some of the things that we accomplished this year, we every year do an annual animal shelter drive, which we did again this year that was very successful. We also worked together with East Preston for Pink Out, second annual Pink Out this year, that donated $861 to Preston Memorial's Pig Fund. And we added into it also a buckwheat volley that was very successful and fun evening for everybody that the fire department and Shaw's contributed to, so that we were able to give away tickets for rides to the festival. So it's absolutely fantastic, and we're hoping to do that again next year. Our varsity team finished with 21-2, earning the title of back-to-back county champions. Our JV finished 11-1, earning the title of first ever JV county champions, which was pretty cool this year. You have all been provided a copy of our 2023 season in review book. I do this for the girls every year. It highlights all of these accomplishments and all the different things that we've done. There are pictures and things in there for you. And you're welcome to take that along with you whenever the meeting adjourns this evening. To end it, I'd just like to say that, quote by Phil Jackson, the strength of the team is each individual member. The strength of the member is the team. These girls are definitely a strong team, and I can't wait to see what happens next season. But thank you for having us.
You guys know you beat my turn out. Board member, no, I want to stay sneaking behind.
You might need to get them better a little bit, girls.
Okay, it was truly an outstanding athletic fall season for Central Preston. They also captured the girls cross-country championship, so we want to recognize that team. The cross-country team had a great year, captured the county championship, so we would ask if the team members could please come forward as they're announced. Team members included Zoe Borgman, Delaney Cease, Nevaeh West, Zoe Faciletos, Alexis Goss, Rebecca Yates, Mariah Wilson, and Sydney Wade. The team was coached by Tiffany Piles and Lisa Weaver this year. And Coach Piles, if you have anything you'd like to say? Or Coach Weaver, or whomever. Oh, she's got her voice.
So unfortunately, Coach Tiffany acknowledging all the years of hard work that some of these runners have put in. And also, we had quite a few newcomers coming this year, try out the sport for the first time. And if those ladies hadn't been good athletes before they started, they would not have added to the success of all the experienced runners that we have on this team. We do have a couple girls that will be coming back, and I hope that we have enough to have a team next year so that we can keep this streak up. But I just want to say it's been a tremendous pleasure, both Coach T and myself, to coach you ladies and come out every day and put in the work and progress as much from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. I want to say that during the championship, we came in 1, 2, 3, 4. We split all of the first spots right up off the bat. And it was a tremendous pleasure to coach you ladies. Anything else? All right. Thank you very much. And I give them a round of applause.
I think Mr. Martin figured out if he takes the pictures, he doesn't have to.
Can we again give this team a big round of applause?
Again, congratulations to both teams and coaches. Parents, thank you as well, because in order for that success to be there, you also had to make sure your athletes were there. So we want to make sure we thank the parents as well. Anything else on recognitions?
No, you might want to see if anyone wants to leave.
And if anybody, you're welcome to stay, but if anybody wants to leave at the end of the recognition part, you feel free to do so. We're going on with the meeting. That's what most people don't like to stay. That's fine. Thank you again, though, everybody, for
A lot of
coming.
them standing.
What's that?
A lot of people standing.
Yeah.
Just have to ask if they feel that I'm going to need to identify them. I feel like they probably will.
Okay, next, under delegations, will be Miss Hillary Morse from Aurora.
Ms. Morris, President.
Hello.
Ms. Morris?
I didn't know. I apologize. Ms. Morse, before you come up, are you going to be saying anything that you would be, so that naming names or anything of that nature? Because if you are, we need to go executive session.
They're talking about needing to speak specifically to the building administration and potentially student property.
Okay.
President,
At this
I move that
time,
we go into an executive session, please.
Second.
it's been properly moved by Mr. Kisner, second by Ms. Feathers, that we go into executive session as soon as Mr. Martin gets back.
Okay.
Moved by Mr. Kisner, second by Ms. Feathers. Tell me when you're ready.
Okay.
This needs to be a voice vote.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, and it is 6:23.
6:23.
Ms. Varner, you ready? At this time, entertain a motion to return to open session.
So moved.
Moved by
Feathers?
Mr. Kisner, second by
Second.
Ms. Feathers. Any discussion? Hearing none, voice vote?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. 7:15. Both the executive sessions dealt with the same issue. Mr. Martin, we ask you as a board to look into the concerns that was expressed in the
Certainly will.
executive session.
Okay.
At this time, entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Tatham, second by Mr. Zegray. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote.
Voting is open. Hot spots you don't get tonight, Mr. Higgins. That's it. Hot spots you don't get tonight.
So far, so good. Next on the...
Motion passes 5-0.
I'll get ahead of myself here. Next on the agenda, Ms. Jana Miller, pre-K and special education programming.
I provided these, you should have got a basic report.
Sorry. Thank you.
These are the student services areas that I cover. The October child count, we had 837 students. We're getting ready to do, we do a child count the 1st of October and the 1st of December. So this week we'll be preparing the December child count. It does not count gifted because it's a federal count, and gifted services are provided to the students in West Virginia, but it's not under federal guidelines. So we'll be doing that. West, I wasn't at the last board meeting percent because West is a school was identified as a CSI ATS school, and the State Department was here doing their review. They will come 2 times to West, and they came last year once, gave us a report, and then we took that information and wrote an improvement plan, and then they came to review where we're at with our improvement plan, and the areas that they suggested that West look at was to revise their PBIS plan, have the staff attend training relating to the science of reading, which they did this past summer, and then look at professional development to assist with standards-based instruction to increase academic achievement for students with disabilities. So we'll continue that process. We meet every month with the team there, looking at, our progress with our students there. Homebound, we have, I just gave you the number of elementary kids we have currently. Homebound 5, middle school 7, and 3 at the high school level. We don't have as many students, and due to a lot of the high school students will enroll in virtual school. So we don't have quite as many as we have in the past. Preschool enrollment, I've given you the list of the numbers of the current preschool enrollment for this current school year. And then alternative education, we have 35 students enrolled in alternative ed this year. So, any questions?
What progress is West making?
They are making progress with their goals. I mean, they just recently, they haven't got their PBIS up and running, so we don't have data with it yet. And then with everything, we're looking at, they haven't got all the data yet, but they have increased instruction. We added another teacher there, special ed teacher, so that they could have smaller groups of kids in their reading groups. So we hope that progress will show up.
Do you know what percentage of kids that entered, say, last school year as special ed were moved out of special ed over the year? Like
Oh, I don't have that. I mean, I wouldn't have any, I mean, I don't know that off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mrs. Miller, they're probably the most common maybe where elementary school students over time sometimes phase out of speech. I mean, would that be a pretty common one?
Yeah, that's common. Yeah. So, okay, well, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thanks, Ms. Miller. I've got to tell you, I've got about 20 questions. I was kidding. I was just waiting to see. I was waiting on a response from you, and that didn't work the way I thought it would. But thank you. Next on the agenda, Kingwood Elementary, LSIC, and curriculum team presentations. Ms. Peasley, I'll turn it over to you. If you'll come get the microphone. Thank you.
Oh, let's get them a mic.
I gave it to him.
Oh, okay,
Ms. Peasley came back.
gotcha.
Well, good evening. I am Samantha Beasley, and I am principal at Kingwood Elementary School. And this is Melissa Brewer. She is our dean of students at Kingwood Elementary School. We're a brand spanking new team this year, but we're very excited about some of the things that we have begun and some of the things that we have continued. So, without further ado, we will answer some of the questions and tell you about our curriculum and LSIC teams. So, our curriculum team, if any of these people are present, I would ask for them to stand. Several of them are in the audience right now. They consist of Mrs. Brewer and myself. Crystal Powell is our school counselor. She is here with us. Tina Strand is a kindergarten teacher at Kingwood Elementary. She was here earlier, but had to leave. Sonia Stahl, first grade teacher. Mrs. Stacy Boer, she's a third grade teacher at our school. And Miss Hillary Barlow is the music teacher at our school. So these people were elected during our spring faculty senate meeting, and that was brought back to the table in August, and it was voted to keep that the same since a lot of the work that we had done over the summer had continued and would stay the same. We meet the fourth Tuesday of each month. Our literacy plan goals have been developed and driven with a lot of guidance from the county office. Those are plans that were approved by our board and our curriculum team earlier in this year. I will say that a lot of our curriculum team goals stem and coordinate with our current strategic plan, which we kind of think of it as an umbrella, where academic achievement and student academic achievement is our overarching goal of the umbrella. And underneath of that, we have attendance, engagement, and family involvement. And those are kind of the vehicles that drive us towards academic achievement, because you can't really have that without any of those. Some of the things that we have in place with our literacy plan, we have 2 tutors that service our students. They provide Tier 2 instruction on a daily basis for kids who might be struggling. That kind of goes along with the screenings that we have in place through iWriting and things like that, with the letters that we send out for new legislation. Weekly, we meet with PLCs, grade levels. We go over data. We see where they are in goals and progress, how their instruction is driven
intentional, being data-driven, and we're still doing that this year, so hopefully we continue that progress. Our iReady Fall 2023 data, as part of our literacy initiative, we've also developed over the summer with our curriculum team an iReady implementation plan. And part of that plan, we really put an emphasis on that first diagnostic at the beginning of the school year. A lot of times we don't because we're thinking, well, that shows room for growth, it shows room for improvement. However, we're not taking into consideration the summer slides that we often have and things like that. So we want to really get a true picture of where our kids are. We want them to start out the best that they can be and help them through those productive struggles as the year progresses. So if you look in reading, this is from our September iReady benchmark data. So if you look in reading, during last school year, you can see the numbers there. I'll give you fourth grade, for example. The number of students who were 2 or more grade levels below in reading, according to the first diagnostic last school year, went 49. This year, the number of students who were 2 or more grade levels below in fourth grade were 18. And those numbers are considerably the same, in math as well. We've sliced them in half, if not more, across the board. And, we hope that it's because our teachers sat down with our kiddos at the beginning, they went over where they left off in May, and each kiddo had a goal set for them to either, to stay within 20 of that goal. They could go up 20, they could go down 20, but we wanted them to stay within that goal. And we had a kickoff assembly here. They learned the wave, students learned it, and I think Mrs. Moore, Mrs. Stolman helped out, with teaching that, and they just had a really good time. Currently, this graph shows where we are as of 11/17/2023. This is according to our most recent diagnostic scores. I just kind of highlighted some areas where we're showing a lot of good things. So if you look across the board in grades K through 4, our high frequency words, that tends to be a high domain across the board. That's something that our tutors are working on daily, our other support personnel are working on daily, going into the classrooms with our students. Our kiddos in their small groups, they might go to the teacher table for one round of center rotations, but then some that may need extra help on those high frequency words or something like that. A lot of our special ed aides, when they're not providing direct minutes with the special education teacher, they're going in and helping provide tier 2 instruction. The current first grade aides that we have, when those kiddos go into special class, we have them helping to provide instruction as well. Also, something that we do in terms of exploring data and setting goals for ourselves, we know that what we focus on, we tend to do well on. So our teachers have developed over the past 2 years short-term action plans. They're 4-week cycles, and they focus on specific standards. As you can see here, our second grade, their first short-term action plan, they focused on phonics and phonemic awareness. 76% of the students, that's their highest achieving domain. If you look at fourth grade, they focused on comprehension of literary text. 44% of them are proficient at this point, and we're not even halfway through the school year. Same thing with math. We also followed the rigorous curriculum design that was written and is now being implemented, by teachers and administrators in our county. It started out in math a little bit different this year, especially for our lower grade levels. They started with geometry, measurement, and data, which is something a little bit different. Typically we don't get to that until the end of the year. But you can see they focused on it and they're killing it there. Kindergarten 57%, geometry 59%. And I have to say too, a lot of our kindergarten kiddos this year did not attend pre-K. We have a very high percentage, so we're rather impressed with those scores. Our third and fourth grades, again, their short-term action plans, their first round of those, they focused on measurement and data. Fourth grade focused on numbers and operations, and their scores are showing that. So the big thing is now is just to maintain that momentum, continue to spiral review, and how do we make it all fit. This is what excites us the most, and Ms. Brewer, do you want me to hand it over to you for this?
Okay, so in looking at our Diagnostic 1 assessment that the students took in September and comparing it to the results other service personnel. She's our school bus driver. Heather Basadella is a parent who is on our LSIC team. She is our PTA president. Stacy Chappell is our PTA treasurer. She is also a parent. Alyssa Sines is a parent representative. Edward McNair is our community representative from Surveyor and Associates. And Rhonda Taylor from the Kingwood Public Library also serves on this committee. And we meet the second Monday of each month preceding our PTA meetings. It's just kind of nice to get those two populations together and keep that flowing. So some of our general academic and school improvement needs include our building safety, particularly in aging and faulty exterior doors. That's been a concern that we're well aware has been expressed by all stakeholders. You know, our teachers, our parents, community members who have come in. I do know that a main door has been ordered, and you know, we're anxiously awaiting that. In the meantime, this team has kind of taken it upon themselves to, you know, we've been brainstorming ideas, even though, you know, during dismissal, during arrival, things like that, we have staff members staged all throughout our buildings as people are coming and going. That's not all day, and we do have little bodies who tend to wander, and, you know, in the hustle and bustle of things do happen. So, you know, some of the ideas that we have had is maybe having parent volunteers just come and man some of our doors at different times throughout the day to add that extra security until we get some of these things in place. I know during our recent regional safety audit, a double entry to the main entrance and the exit of campus was suggested. Another need that we have is exterior lighting, building maintenance of an aging facility, and the cleanliness have also been identified as areas of concerns for our building. And again, that's something that we're hoping to work on as a team, as a group effort. We would also like to provide extra academic help through after-school programs and other part-time educational opportunities. We feel they're both needed and welcomed. Here at Kingwood Elementary, we're always looking for more people to bring in to our school family. The maximized benefits would likely be achieved if some of these initiatives were provided with opportunities for families to participate together. So I know some of the things that we were thinking about, if you look at our scores, well, our growth has been very good so far. We're definitely making more gains in reading than we are in math. And I know one thing that we talked about at our last LSIC meeting was possibly bringing in, Hillary, can you remind me of his name from the State Department?
Josh Green.
Josh Grant from the State Department, and I know he does math family nights and things like that where they're really diving in and participating together as that unit, and it kind of gets to the core of what we're working on. So this team's kind of looking at some opportunities like that where the parents not just coming and watching their student do something, the parents actually participating as well. Also, we have 6 students that suffer from severe social, emotional, and behavioral health issues. I know that this was a concern that Mrs. Ziegler and myself had addressed last year, and unfortunately, that's not something that's going away, and I think that we've seen that countywide with different discipline policies and things like that. We have a phenomenal support team here with Mrs. Powell, Mrs. Stanley, our social worker. You know, we couldn't ask for more than that. I think, you know, our crisis team is always quick to respond, but nonetheless, you know, the mental health field is stretched just as thin as we are. So, you know, as we're reaching out and making connections and things like that, you know, it's harder and harder and longer in getting some of these students the help that they need. So that's, you know, another concern that we have. The single most positive aspect of KDS, well, we feel that there's no place like KDS. So if you look at our pictures, we pride ourselves, and it's something that, you know, I know that outsiders say over and over again. They love visiting our school. They feel welcomed at our school. It's nice to collaborate and work, not just with our staff, but with our students. You know, a lot of times we're the best thing that some people get coming into our school, and we really try to make it a welcoming, inviting experience for everybody. That is the most positive aspect of our school.
Hey, and just quickly overviewing how our levy-funded projects have been spread out. Basically, we looked at 3 areas: building upgrades and repairs. The The police department shows up to greet our students anytime that we ask. Same way with the fire department. Preston Memorial Hospital does as well. They greet our students, hand out pencils. The Smiles Dental Practice, truly a blessing for our families here, for the students to receive those services. Walmart and Keywood here, always very generous with making donations as we have different projects or needs that come up, as well as the public library and the Preston County Inn.
Our student-focused school programs, we tried to incorporate a lot of that in our Salt News broadcast to you all earlier, so we don't want to be too redundant, but our PBIS Tier 1 program, we are still continue to be a PBIS Tier 1 level school in West Virginia. That's our STOM program and our chair, but it's so much more than that. You know, the kids can tell you what it looks like, it sounds like to show respect in the gym, to overcome your problems. Coulson, I'm sure you remember all of that. So, our PBIS Tier 2, that is provided to a smaller population of our students when Tier 1 interventions are not working. So we provide check in, check out. That could be, their goal could be to stay in class a little bit more, or their goal could be to attend school regularly. And Mrs. Pell and Mrs. Stanley have also started social skills interventions groups within the past month. They have those up and running, and I think that that's going to be a really nice outlet for our students as well. Purposeful People, we have the monthly character trait recognition. Miss Kylie has a Gatorade Student of the Month, and again, those are kiddos who exhibit excellent teamwork, sportsmanship, and things like that in wellness class. We have irate growth recognition assemblies. They alluded to that earlier. We're going to be giving out quite a bit of STOMP coupons and certificates because they've reached their typical stretch growth already. Our irate school-wide rewards initiative, our STOMP news, which you saw, our student council does a lot throughout the school and our community. They do a lot of service projects with the Preston County Animal Shelter and our local nursing homes, things like that. We have monthly attendance challenges and incentives, and Girls on the Run yearly as well. As far as parent involvement goes, our parent liaison has organized volunteer opportunities in the building for library organization, classroom story time. We've got our STEAM lab back up and running. We have a new schedule for that. Copying and laminating tests for teachers with our classroom volunteers. That's been very nice to have more people in and out of our building. This is probably the most we've had since COVID, so that's nice. A lot of our families walked with students and teachers during the 81st annual Preston County Buckwheat Festival. That was nice to see such a big turnout. Our PTA is very involved. They support us. I think we're really trying to develop a true partnership. They host our Back to School Splash, where students come to meet their teachers, and then we head down to the pool afterwards. They do pizza and prayer for the staff during that work day when everybody's setting up their rooms. Staff appreciation, haunted hallways, and deck the halls. And I forgot to mention Santa's workshop, but I know that we talked about that during our news broadcast. They help with our Christmas program that Ms. Barlow coordinates, and I think she's invited everyone to as well. They set up and clean up after that. Dr. Seuss night and field day. We had our Veterans Day assembly a couple weeks ago. That's an annual thing. They always help set up and provide refreshments afterwards. Student-led data conferences they participate together in. They shepherd field trips. We have Scholastic Book Fair volunteers. And they can also communicate with teachers and admin through Seesaw. They can communicate with each other through Facebook. So a lot of opportunities to be involved. And we'd just like to thank everybody for their support in our new roles. And do you have any questions?
I believe you guys are one of the schools that's testing the iReady math books.
Yes,
Is that
Ready
right?
Math.
How's that going?
So personally, I am in favor of the Ready Math curriculum. I think it encompasses a lot of the skills that we're looking at, and we've discussed
our fourth grade piloted it during the second half of the year last year. So just from January to May. And you saw our fourth grade, you saw our math scores from last year. So, and I think that has a lot to do with it.
Did that translate over to GSA also? Did you?
Yes, that's what I was referring to. I think as a school, we sat at 49% proficient last year in math.
Thank you.
Anything else? Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Martin's doing that. Thank you for hosting us again tonight, as well as thank you for your presentation. We'll wait till this Mr. Martin gets done, and then we'll introduce the other. Okay, hold on, Mr. Paul Martin. Come here and get the microphone as soon as Mr. Brad Martin's done. Okay, never mind. While he's coming, we'll let him. Next on the agenda is Central Preston. I can talk loud enough you can hear me for this. Mr. Paul Martin, we'll turn it over to you.
Mrs. Option has already kicked me in the shin, and I have to be brief. And having a Martin be brief is not a good thing. So I'm sure about that. But in all seriousness, for me personally, it's really nice to come back to my elementary school. And a location that's literally 200 yards from my house. I'm assuming the statute of limitations is up. Principal Peasley, Superintendent Martin, I did break in here a few times and shot some moves. I'm a little concerned about this deadliest catch apparatus back behind me, but nonetheless. Of course, I'm Paul Martin, the principal at Central Preston Middle School. I have Angie Zofchek, our dean of students, Lincoln Barger, our guidance counselor, and Ms. Cameron Hayes. I really appreciate her weathering the storm, no pun intended, with how long the meeting has been to present with us. She is the president of our National Junior Honor Society and also the student representative on our LSIC. So, let's begin. Speaking of LSIC, we just want to kind of
Slide. Other way. There you go.
Awesome. So our LSIC members, Mr. Barger for the second straight year has been our president. Ms. Brandy Childs, one of our seventh grade teachers, is our secretary. The admin influence, Mrs. Zofchek and I, Mrs. Mary Ellen Snyder, who's with us today. Parents, Erica Foley, Leah Turner, Nicole Shea. Interesting enough, it's boy moms. We usually see like there's more girl moms, but all boy moms. From the service standpoint, Mr. Aaron Knotts, who's been with us, I think this is his second year. And our at-large members, Miss Sally Deep, of course, right up the streets at Sally Ann's, and Sarah Wilson, and Miss Cameron Hayes, we mentioned previously. So, our mission statements remain the same from last year, and that's developing champions of character, academics, trust, and service with the acronyms CATS. I'm going to start with a couple of negative things, and that's our physical school improvement needs. And really, when I think of our school, for me personally, there's only really two negative things that come to mind. And one of them is a little bit silly, but I really don't appreciate the smell of the seems like we have that once every 2 weeks. I don't like that at all, so that's a bummer. But in all seriousness, our HVAC issues are a major concern. It literally is a temperature mystery from day to day to know what's taking place within our building. And room to room, it's not even, like I said, consistent to one floor. And we've had different experts. We've had our on-site HVAC technicians, and I think the bigger issue is the original footprint of the building was to have 4 additional classrooms. And what's been explained to me is the HVAC system was not designed for that. And I think when that was eliminated, it kind of has things in flux. But it's a concern, and it does impact negatively learning of our students when either they're too cold or too hot. But some things that we need, we are unique at Central Preston being sort of having an elementary component with our 5th grade, and then being a true middle school grade 6 definitely would like to make some improvements there. We also, from a whole school standpoint, would like to add some outdoor fitness stations. We also, from an outdoor standpoint, would love to have the ability to have an outdoor classroom and pavilion. We'll talk a little bit about this later, but our storyboard project is kind of utilizing our school site to have an education outside. When we had our safety audit, like Principal Peasley spoke of, fencing along the perimeter is needed for sure. We have very steep hills from when the school was constructed, and we've had some injuries from that. Another thing mentioned at our safety audit was to have improved safety signage, and we've made some improvements in regards to our door and window numbers. If you see things denoted in yellow on our presentation, those are things that we've already addressed in the process of doing so. He also requested that we have some additional interior signs. Something that's always been very important to me is having some level of school signage, whether that be a brick and mortar or some type of electronic components. And we'll speak with Friends of Wildcats several times in our presentation. That's something they've taken upon themselves as a goal to accomplish. Definitely improved exterior lighting. That also was noted in our safety audit. And it's really with our CT explorations to kind of finish up our high tunnel and begin some levels of small animal husbandry and raising animals on site. Some academic school improvement needs. As I mentioned with Friends of Wildcats, that's something that's been void at our school, is having some level of a PTA or boosters organization. And the ladies that are involved with Friends of Wildcats have been incredible. We'll speak to some of the projects that they're working on. But that is a continued parent involvement and community involvement, something we're stressing, but we feel we've made some really great strides with that organization. Smaller class sizes, as you probably know, in grades 5 and 6, the maximum number of students you can have is 28, it's 25, and then a waiver of 3 additional. But we have, in our 8th grade, having from 90 kids, and only 3 sections of each course, you can do the math on it. We have several situations where we're 30 plus in our classes, particularly in science and social studies, where there's not a pull out for special ed services. Yeah, exactly. Need of co-teachers in science and social studies. Definitely, as Mrs. Ziegler, increased participation in science and social studies fair. That is something that we identified last year, and we've made some improvements and some planning in regards to that. And we've even, last school year, we had an incentive trip for those students that participated in the science fair to try to encourage their participation. Everyone speaks of lack of professional and service substitutes. And, of course, we have a new BE, or behavior disorder classroom at Central Preston. Currently, because that teacher is a substitute, they are not receiving a faculty senate allocation of funds for some of the classroom supplies. And overall, we do have some concerns of what the behavior disorder classroom looks like going into the future. Currently, it consists of 2 students that originally were not attending Central Preston. That could potentially change over time, but just some concerns of what that looks like going into the future. Some of our levy funding projects, from an instructional materials, all types of instructional materials, but one of which we think is paying dividends for us is the purchase of small group tables and chairs to be able to truly have small groups taking place from the movements in the classroom. Gym floors were resurfaced this summer. Surveillance cameras more into the past. Of course, personnel, our CTE exploration classes for teachers maybe from plenty. Field trips, we had an allocation of $7,451, and we had a budget we had established by September 1st. And some of the grade level trips that we have planned already, the 7th grade trip has already taken place. They went to the Flight 93 911 Memorial. For me personally, as a chaperone, probably the most powerful field trip I've ever been associated with. It's a remarkable one, and our schools are not going to it. I highly recommend it. It's outstanding. Coming up in December, our 6th grade is going to be going to the West Virginia Public Theater at the CAC in Morgantown to see Narnia. 8th grade is going to the Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in May, and I think maybe the teachers may need to go with them on that one. We mentioned Robinson Center. Mr. Barker was able to attend that. And several of our athletic teams and band, buses for the band and athletic teams. We do have under our realm the Squire Sports, and one of the things I made very clear at the beginning when we were establishing our budgets is to make sure so that our allocation for our curricular trips are not used wrongly, to make sure that it's based upon the number of students that actually attend Central Preston. So as an example, I think in football we had maybe 78% of the students on the team were from Central. So that's, for the bus allocations, that's what we paid for. And the other schools chipped in a very proper amount, and I'm appreciative they're working with us on that. And some of our PBS reward trips that are going to be taken throughout the school year. In the past, we've taken our students sledding in Blackwater Falls. Through our PBS rewards program, if you kind of think of like an online banking account, when they're doing positive things within their school, the teachers can reward them by points instead of in the past we use coupons and different things of that nature. So it's a nice, clean electronic system that they can purchase. And we really focus, and I'm talking, this is more from a levy funding, but PBI sort of focuses more on experiences and less on material things. So I think we're going to kind of all chip in a little bit on the positive aspects of our school, and like Principal Peasley, it's definitely our biggest slide, and that's a great thing. There's a lot of amazing things happening within our school, and I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Barker to talk to some of those, and we'll talk more about our student accomplishments with Ms. Hayes.
Yeah, so I would say probably the biggest thing at our school is the relationships amongst our students with our teachers and our staff as a whole. I can think of Mr. Tim hanging out with all the kids at lunch, and it's a good atmosphere for them, I feel like. And with that comes their safety. There's a lot of different ways for them to report an incident to us through our incident report system. We have all these forms are online for them to their disposal, so they can just go online, fill out a form for guidance. If they want to come see me. If they're hurt, they can fill out a nurse form, and if there's an incident that they see or something happens to them, they're able to fill out a form. Us three, we get that response, and we're able to kind of tackle that issue immediately. So I think another big part of our incident report is it helps them remain anonymous. So like, let's say they don't want their friend to know they're quote unquote snitching on them, we can kind of hide their identity that way. So.
And they can do it at school and at home. Since it's on our website, they can do it at home. We encourage them to do it with their parent as well, so that their parent knows what's going on and is involved in it too.
Yeah, and we'll have some issues with social media outside of the building, but of course it comes into the building too. So we like to take care of those issues as well. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Kind of a new one too from a safety standpoint, and we're stressing our EAP stands for Emergency Action Plan, and that's a requirement actually from the state legislature for all athletic teams and band. And with that, there's different response teams basically that are made up of students, believe it or not. And the rationale behind that is the coach is the one that could have some type of medical emergency. And so the students need to be empowered to make sure that the people are safe. So one of the things we're going to be doing with our students that are in that, when they have to get the AED machine, that they have some level of training with that through the NFHS, National Federation of High School Sports, and they're going to be taking an online class that we're going to be paying for out of school funds to have them certified in those areas.
All right. Another positive aspect of our school is definitely our arrival and dismissal routine daily. I think it's pretty smooth. Mr. Martin's usually out there directing the parent pickup. But that hasn't seemed to be an issue at all this year. So that's something we're going to keep on doing.
But kind of add upon that, basically what's involved with that is we literally, dismissal in particular with parents, we dismiss car by car. Like I'm literally pointing, it's your turn, it's your turn. It's very regimented. I think some people think it's a little bit over the top. However, our number one concern always is student safety. So it's something we developed during the COVID years, and we've stuck with it. And I think it's a very effective and very safe system.
We also have kind of a restorative practice stance on vaping, drugs, violence, and bullying. So what that means is, of course there's a lot of times a punishment attached to that initially, but we like to meet with them after that punishment and have a discussion. A lot of times that's a meeting with me or a meeting with Mr. Martin, and we just go over, what they did wrong, how we could have, changed the way we went about a situation and different things like that. And that's just to build that relationship with them and to know that, even though we're quote unquote their teacher, or someone who's in charge, they can still have a friend in us if they need to go to us for some help or anything like that. So a lot of that is informational too, especially for the vaping side. And another positive aspect and something that we get a lot of compliments on is the cleanliness of our building. I can think of multiple people coming to me talking about how we have such a nice school. So that's definitely something we appreciate. Do you want to talk about the health system? We'll talk about it. Okay. We have I don't know what you would call it, kind of like a Harry Potter-esque system within our school. Each kid is divided into 4 separate houses. In 5th grade, or if they're a new student, they're placed into a house. And when they're a part of that house, they kind of meet with those other kids within their house, build relationships with them, team up with each other and play different games during our house ceremonies. It's just a way for them to connect and get to know maybe some kids that are older than them at school. And it's also a chance for our older students to get together and kind of mentor these younger kids too. So it's a pretty great dynamic and something the kids really enjoy.
And then they're with that house their whole career there, so they're with those same kids then to build a relationship. And teachers, the teachers are all part of each house as well.
It becomes very competitive,
Yes.
and I've even noticed some of the teachers that are with a particular house. Sometimes they may stretch the rules a little bit so that their house gets more points. So,
what else? Oh, you talked about pediatric awards earlier, kind of like the online system in which you earn rewards for good behaviors and different things like that. We actually had a suggestion from our LSIC meeting last year. Aaron Knotts, our bus driver, asked if he was able to access that program, and we gave him access. So if there's a kid on the bus who's behaving, he's able to reward them that way. So it's not just teachers, but all our service personnel in the building too. Bike club. So this year we started a new club. It's a bike club with Mr. Knotts, our severe and profound teacher. It's something he brought over from Mon County, and it's been a big hit. Kids have been signing up left and right to join bike club. We've met 3 times thus far. I was blessed to be on one of the rides.
that's not what he told me earlier.
No, it's fine. It's fine. But for instance, we went on the what's the proper name? West Virginia Northern Trail. Yeah. And that was really neat. Just having the kids with me, showing them around, being involved with nature. And again, they were with a bunch of their classmates too. So it's just a way for them to hang out with each other outside of school hours in a safe environment.
I'd say probably the thing I like best about the bike club is actually watching the parents bring the bikes on campus early in the morning. It's still dark out, and you see Mr. Smith getting the bike out of the bed of the truck, and they're all proud of their bike, and they lean it up against the picnic table. But it's been an outstanding program. They're really excited to be part of it.
We also have our Wildcat Weekly. Colson, you are very familiar with this. He is the pioneer of the Wildcat Weekly. It's basically our journalism, our school journalism. We send out a newsletter each week, at the end of every week, every Friday, and that just keeps kind of our students in the loop. It also shows off some of
7th grade champ and an 8th grade champ in case there's, maybe, for instance, our 8th grade champ plays volleyball, our 7th grade does not, so that way the 7th grade champ can be at the games. Did you know that? I'm telling you something that's
Tell them about the tryouts. They tried out.
Oh, the tryouts are
During the
amazing.
house
During our house party were the actual tryouts. And so just think of yourself as a 7th or 8th grade young person getting up in front of all of your peers and having to put together a routine. The most amazing part was, to be honest with you, was Mr. Miller was a surprise tryout, our wellness teacher, and I don't even want to say this because he's going to get a really big head, but Mr. Miller, at his advanced age, was able to do the worm across the gym floor. He pretended he was like a kitten and like he had a laser pointer spot on. It's on YouTube, search for it.
So then the kids voted for
Yes.
the camp.
Yes.
So that was.
So that's something we thought would bring a little enthusiasm to our school. I'd say I loved Kingman Elementary's. What did you call them? Or Stags? Stomp News? I love the Stomp News. We got up Cameron and David Turner, our morning announcements, and probably my best part about that, like today, it's Monday after a break, everyone's tired, and David Turner belts out, "Good morning, Central Preston!" And they kind of close with some dad jokes. Do you have any of your dad jokes on the top of your head? It's been an added benefit to our school. We really enjoy their contributions in the morning. So morning announcements with Cameron and Dave. Take your parents to school days is something. My first year as dean back in the 2016-2017 school year, Mrs. Avezzi said, we're going to do this program called Take Your Parents to School Day, and you're in charge. I was like, okay, here we go. But it's been a great program. What it entails, our parents can come in and spend the day with their child, see what it's like to be in the classroom, and not only just observe, but be active. Our art teacher sets out the materials for each parent that's going to be present so they can do exactly what their students. So it's a great engagement activity for us. It's so popular that we actually have to do one in the spring and one in the winter time. So we've already completed our one in the fall, and we'll be doing it again I think in February. So I think all of Preston County does an amazing assemblies for our veterans. And each and every school, I will put our efforts up against in the county, and it's rightfully so. And lastly, this subject I think defer to you on family engagement activities. These two really were the one we had back in September. It was amazing. It's the best one we ever had. And one of the components I was involved in was the storyboards, and that's actually what you see pictured here. There's kind of a signage, it's known as a storyboard, and it gives you historical information about different things that you can see off in the horizon. So I don't know if you can see that. I'm sure Mr. Sigray is a longtime teacher at Central Preston Senior High School will recognize it. It's the old high school, the old Kingwood High, Central Preston Senior. And so what the students are doing there is there's a QR code that they can scan with their phone that gives information about the site and ask them some questions. So over time, we're able to track visitors that have been there. So it's sort of like a little walking museum, so to speak, of things that are on and around our campus. So we have the old Kingwood High School, we have the new Preston Memorial, we have Maplewood Cemetery, we have one that looks off to the Buckwheat Grounds and the importance of the Buckwheat Festival to our community. The cross-country course, I put at least one personal thing in there. The development of the soccer fields, and we have one to Preston High School, and I think I'm missing a couple others. That's at the hospital.
Animal shelter.
Animal shelter, another great one. And a couple stories that came from that. Mrs. Varner's daughter, actually, if you don't know, Mrs. Varner's husband, Robert, has actually lived on site at the old almshouse or the poorhouse of his family as well. So she was able to write that perspective, which was kind of nice to have that connection. And then there was Mr. Corley, who was a longtime warden at the animal shelter. His granddaughter actually wrote that one, and it was really neat
also a Halloween concert on October 14th at PHS. And then the FFA last spring, the tractor driving team went up to state convention and won third. That tractor driving team was Lucas Lilly, Jason Plum, and Cohen Thomas. National Junior Honor Society has done many service projects this year, including the pumpkin run and mentoring students at Central Preston Middle School. State Social Studies Fair winners last year were Kylie Barr, Olivia Hovatter, Macy Thomas, and Aubrey Welch and Scarlett Barr. County Math Field Day winners from 8th grade were Bryson McNew was first place, Birdie McCleary second place, Nick Bernardo was third place, and then 7th grade Grayson Eskridge was third place, and then 6th grade Nathan Bernardo was third. The Golden Horseshoe winner for last year was Nick Bernardowitz. And then Ava Turner was your WSSAC women's wrestling state champ. And then Central Preston is 2022 and 2023 superintendent's champions.
Good job.
We were trying to work on the mock-up for the Superintendent's Cup, and we had some internet issues at Central Preston Middle School, but Superintendent Martin, I just want you to know that if you can kind of think of Atlas, holding the, just think of your head and right there. We'll send that to you later.
So it'll look good.
We're going to jump into some data with Mrs. Aja.
Okay, so here's the summative assessment, historical data. Mr. Martin and I started together in 2018, 2019. So before that, that was the previous administration. So as you can see, looking at the math proficiency, we started at 25.38 when we were together. In COVID, we had a little bit of a dip, but then we have jumped up. Obviously, that is not where we want to be. We want to be double that at least. But we've already beat our state goal that they have set for us. So that is a plus. But like I said, we're nowhere near where we want to be. We are piloting the iReady Math as well, and all of our teachers and students are loving it. I have seen it in action. I've spoke with all of them, and so hopefully with the whole school and everyone on the same page using this curriculum, it'll keep transferring into better results as well. For the ELA proficiency, you can see since we have started, it has only increased as well. 50% is not great. It's good for now, but we obviously want to be a lot higher than that. And the state goal is 52.63%. I think we will be there this year, hopefully above that though this year. Okay, so GSA from last year, math overall was a school 37% proficient, and then if you look down here, this is the percent proficient for each grade, but then in the parentheses here is where we placed at for Preston County, and then what the state percentage was. So 5th grade, 24, the state was at 38, not great. 35% versus 30. We were higher, but that's not anywhere near good. 7th grade, 39 and 29. 8th grade was 27 for Central Preston, 28 for the state. And then the ELA right there is on the right. Overall, we were at 50%, moving up, but we need to be a lot higher than that. And then so just 5th grade on, you can see 39 for us, 44 for the state, 4th in Preston County. 6th grade, 55%. We were first in Preston County in both ELA and math, actually, for 6th grade. And then 45 for the state. 7th grade, 55. First again in Preston, 39 for the state. And then 8th grade, 45. Preston 1 again, and 43 for the state. So looking at iReady data, so we have taken the first benchmark and the second, and if you see, we have the format of the math proficiency for the first one that we did. We action using the curriculum. Our 8th grade teacher was new to us this year. She's not new to teaching, but she's been out of the field for 10, 13 years. And she has jumped in full force, was working with one of our academic coaches right away. You know, she was like, I'm not familiar with anything that we're doing now. I've been out of the ball game for a long time. And she jumped in, and they are showing growth and kicking it, so that's awesome. ELA went from 33 of the first one to 37%. 5th grade, 25 to 33%. 6th grade, 30% to 37. 7th grade, 36 to 37. And then 8th grade for ELA, 36 to 42. So not huge gains, but they are showing growth. And like I said, this is only the second one, so hopefully it'll be doubled by the last one.
Sure. So going into the next school year, and going back to accomplishments, one that I forgot was the number of students that were involved in raising animals at the BOE Festival, and that's a huge part of our county. And I think we had 21 students that were involved with raising animals at the BOE Festival. And actually, one of my favorite roles or favorite things we do as administrative team is visiting with the students at the barns. And I tell them that you're going to have to do a report to make it all nervous. And we just want to hear about their animals. Tell us a little bit about what's going on. And they're really excited to talk about it and very proud too. So it's one of the things I forgot to mention on there. Moving forward, I continue partnership with local businesses and community organizations. Some of the same ones that Principal Peasley made reference to. Walmart's been phenomenal to us. West Banco, kind of a new partner for us. I think I'd be remiss if not mentioning the Keene Volunteer Fire Department. They do a variety of different things for us, from athletic meetings in their fields to when we have any type of emergency evacuation. That's one of the locations that we go to. We're proud of the landscaping project. It's one that we really did the most of the work ourselves. I think last year I made reference to the rock crew or the rock detail group. If, with permission from parents, if a kid gets in trouble, they may have to move some rocks from the landscaping standpoint. And it's actually something the kids have taken pride in. I would say of our 320-some students, almost all of them at least have contributed moving one rock to our project. And so with that project, we had assistance from Jenny's Nursery, Titan Roofing, Nicholas Enterprises. Again, a continuation of small groups and differentiation, a emphasis on learning intentions and success criteria, because those are research-based strategies through visible learning that we have had numerous training, one in Denver and one locally here at Seven Springs in Pennsylvania. We mentioned Friends of Wildcats, but that's probably been the biggest new thing for us, and these ladies are amazing. One of the things that really was appreciated was at our probably the longest day of the year for teachers at Central Preston Middle School is when we have our student-led conferences. I think those were from 4 until 7 on Monday. I'm not sure who scheduled that, but I think it was me. But one of the best things was knowing that they had an awesome meal. We had a variety of different soups and breads and things that the Friends of Wildcats made for us. We have a pretty significant festival planned. Won't go into the details of Cow Patty Bingo because that would take too long. They've assisted with things within our library, just any type of celebrations of our teachers and our students. They're doing a poinsettia sales. We have a solid holiday season family fun night. It's going to be this Friday, but they're going to coordinate. I think that's it. Does anyone have any questions? All right, thank you very much.
Paul. Thank you. Before you all leave, thank you, Central Preston as well. you coming tonight. We appreciate everything. Continue what you're
One
doing.
thing I forgot. One of the things that I really appreciate is working with Kingwood Elementary and their administrative team. We really enjoy working with them. And it's great to see all the amazing things that they're doing and as they transition up into the middle school. So we appreciate their efforts at hosting tonight.
Great. That's also what makes it fun. Okay, again, thank you. Moving on. Next on the agenda, entertain a motion for the board to approve the minutes from 11/9/23.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Tatham, second by Mr. Kisner. Any corrections?
I just have a comment, and actually I just remembered it. I noticed on some of the discussions, the board had asked some questions that are not noted in the minutes. I meant to go back and look at it, I'm sorry, I'm just like saying that quickly.
From the 9th meeting, Mr. Feathers. If you can give me any specific answer, I do have the video posted, and if we need to pull anything specific. Yeah, that was with that, there was, the vast majority of the meeting was an executive session.
Okay, that's not what I'm talking
Okay.
about. Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, so anything else? Hearing nothing, call for the vote.
Voting is open. Motion passes 5-0.
Next on the agenda, entertain a motion for the board to approve the meeting minutes from 11/13/23 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Tatham, second by Ms. Feathers. Any questions, discussion, or correction? Hearing none, call for the vote.
Voting is open. Motion passes 4-0 with one abstention.
Next on the agenda, superintendent's report.
Okay, board members, in your packets, you should have received our weekly update that's sent to all employees. Just to quickly review, we have a weekly schedule. Obviously, we noted today's meeting. Tomorrow, we do have a levy committee meeting scheduled at 6 p.m. at the boardroom. We have the faculty senate representatives will be meeting with me on Thursday. And then we are going to be, next week, we're going to be jumping into our data meetings in which we'll have a team from the central office. We're going out and doing visitations and talking academic and attendance data with building administration and other designees in each of our schools. We actually do that quarterly, so 4 times per year we meet as a team to discuss those. Following each meeting, the administration is provided with feedback from those conversations following each meeting. Of course, our next meeting is going to be down in Fellows,ville on the 18th of December. I did want to call to attention today in the superintendent's update we featured. I was actually able to attend, just following our last meeting, we had 9 winners that wrote grants for the York Community Foundation. And actually, I think 5 of those winners either were from Kingwood Elementary or Central Preston. So we had a great turnout. The vast majority of the teachers, I think we only had 1 teacher who was a winner that was not able to be present. Mrs. Peasley, Mrs. Brewer were there. I think all of the winners from Kingwood. But we really had a great turnout, and I just really wanted to express our appreciation for your Community Foundation for their continued support of Preston County schools. And they service, I believe, 4 other districts. But Preston County was extremely well represented. Like I said, we had 9 winners. You know, I look at comparatively to the enrollments of some of the other counties and the number of winning submissions we had here. I was very, very pleased with our efforts there. You can see we had a great turnout of folks turn out. And it was a very nice event. I certainly commended Patty Showers-Ryan, actually chairs your Community Foundation. And I just spoke to her afterwards and told her, how appreciative we were and very much, thought they just did a wonderful job of recognizing teachers and other civic organizations that are doing great philanthropic, I never can say that word well, but doing good out within the public. Also, in the superintendent's update today, I did want to call to attention, we had a group of high school and middle school wrestlers who actually contributed to the Preston Mat Club is in process of trying to build a new wrestling facility, which was at the old barn location where I actually attended kindergarten in that old building they tore down. But a lot of the young men and women were able to come in over the holiday break to help contribute to ultimately the construction of the facility. They moved some gravel, did some other work that was impacted, and certainly we applaud those young men and women and coaches and community members who are stepping up to help that organization to build a facility that's going to be beneficial to youth wrestlers and also to district students in Preston County. As we jump over, guys, obviously the rest of it's going to be updates that have been seen in previous updates and things that came from the Department of Education. With my individual update, let me see if I can flip back to the back page. Of course, our levy committee meeting, as I noted, is going to be tomorrow at 6 p.m. and in faculty senate reps are going to be meeting with me at 3:30 on Thursday. As we said earlier, our second quarterly data meetings are set, and those were noted on our first page. We've already noted our 9 teachers who were recognized through YCF. Veritas, I actually put the quarterly data meetings on there twice. I apologize for putting it on there double time. A couple updates from a facility standpoint. Veritas does anticipate starting work this month. I know I've been saying that for quite a while, but they do anticipate getting underway with the project at PHS. It is going to require, they'll work at one end of the concourse and then they'll work to the other end. We'll likely have to do some things with traffic flow and with admissions to some of our winter sports. We may have to be creative in terms of where we're bringing spectators into the facility. But we're excited to get that project off the ground. We anticipate completion of work in March or April of this year. Veritas has done substantial work on the West Preston project. They're constructing a concession stand that's hooking on to the stage, near the stage cafeteria area. In addition, we'll be adding doors into pod-style classrooms down in the lower elementary section. I know we need to review a brick mock-up to see, comparatively as they build the concession stand, aesthetically, if that's going to be very similar to the brickwork that's existing there. And we did have to do some shifts down in the lower section in terms of the placement of some of the doors. But in working with administration and teachers and staff there, I feel we've got the project at a place where everyone's very excited and ready to move forward with the project. Again, that project seemed to be progressing quite quickly, so we're hopeful that really a lot of the work for the doorways, and for example, going to have to be done after hours. But we're excited about that project as well. Roofing vendor Mansueto has been on site at Preston High School. I know they were working on the roof today. As they replace the roof, they'll also be replacing the rooftop HVAC units and reseating those. So again, that's certainly, we're hopeful we're going to get some helpful weather as they try to work through that process. I did want to update the board is this. We've made significant progress at the track complex with funding from the John W. Trenton Benevolent Trust. That organization has put forth over $100,000 towards renovations at the track and field complex. That's inclusive. Right now, we've already completed a new concrete pad that's been poured. That's going to accommodate a new set of bleachers, which is identical to the existing set that's on the hill. So we're going to be able to double our seating capacity there, which is good for not only track and field, but for soccer, lacrosse, and other sports that compete there. We also do some limited football games. The JV football, Squires are played over there as well. So we get a lot of usage on that field. So the concrete pad is accommodating that. Plus, it will also accommodate 6 handicap accessible spots with companion seats in the middle section between the bleachers. We have a paved walkway that now is moving from that center section. It'll actually wrap around the track facilities building and wraps into the main gates of the track there, where typically athletes enter into the facility. But it also goes up the grade and runs all the way to the length that will accommodate the bleachers. We'll be putting railway along there, again, because to accommodate for handicap accessibility. And ultimately, we'll also be doing renovations to the honors wall at the front of the facility and getting a new plaque for the Trenton Foundation. But we're very excited about the project. We think it's going to make it a much more useful facility. as the board had approved last time with the restroom that's going to be added in and around that area between the baseball and track, really that facility is going to become much more user-friendly moving forward. So we're very appreciative of the efforts, and we would like to obviously bring in members from the John W. Trenton Benevolent Trust to be recognized at a board meeting, and also to look at potential naming rights that would have to be approved by the board. But the Trenton Foundation has made a substantial investment, not only recently, but in years past, to really bring that facility up to the standards that it is today. So we're certainly appreciative. Our next board meeting is scheduled for December 18th at the Fellows School. That will accommodate our Rollsburg and Fellows School presentations that we saw tonight with Central Preston and Kingwood Elementary. Mrs. Varner, do you have anything to add from a personnel standpoint at this time?
Just that I met with some of our county representatives today on personnel. I'm going to meet with a few others tomorrow, and then I'm scheduled to meet with principals starting next week and the following week over cuts that we're looking at for personnel season. So we're starting that process.
All right, thank you, Mr. Varner. Mr. Huggins, that's all I have at this time.
One thing with Ms. Varner with the cuts, just from reading on Facebook with people that don't understand quite the cuts, maybe if you could, with the press here tonight, explain with them why the cuts are, because one of the complaints was how come we're cutting so many people, and even though we talked about it in the board meeting, I'm not sure that got explained well enough. So maybe we could get that out into the paper to clear up that confusion.
Mr. Huggins, one other thing I wanted to add too, and certainly we can put out some communications working in conjunction with a representative from the Dominion Post and from the Preston County News and Journal. Certainly if we need to clarify anything, we certainly can work to do that. I did want to mention, as per the discussion at our last board meeting, we actually had a meeting with our Thrill Share representative at our last principals meeting. And Mrs. Ryan and I are scheduled to meet with that rep in terms of getting the work done to reinitiate the absence calls, which was something that was discussed at our last meeting. The only issue we will see is at Preston High School, we really are not going to be able to initiate the call until after the instructional day, because that school marks absences every period. So we don't want people to have 8 calls through the course of the day. We would note they would get a singular call at the end of the day that would say your child has missed periods 1, 3, 4, and 6, for example. The other schools, we could initiate the calls in the morning because typically our other schools are going to take attendance in homeroom or some other designated class period. So that'll be the only variance is Preston High will look a little bit different than other sites, simply the nature of how they take attendance. But we hope to. I'm really hopeful to have that initiated by no later than the new year. I like New Year and have those calls starting off so that we can communicate that that's a service that we reinitiated. So I just wanted to add that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When a bus doesn't run, I know there are special rules about the child's absence. Does that count towards our attendance?
I believe it does count as an absence. However, it is considered an excused absence for the child, so it will be coded as such as an excused, but it is still constituted as an absence.
So have we ever considered having our buses run an hour late, like people making a separate run? Realizing that the students are still missing out on some when their parents don't get them there, but is that a possibility?
It could be if the employee is inclined, and we would typically have to compensate us. Which, I mean, based upon getting kids to school, it's not that we wouldn't be willing to do that, certainly. But, I mean, can I say that at times maybe we've had drivers who are inclined to do those type of things? Sure. It could be considered any type of change to an existing driver's run that's outside of a certain percentage is required to be compensated as such.
Okay. I mean, and again, I know most parents are probably just getting them there and things like that. I just don't know what.
We've honestly, I felt like we've done relatively well in terms of the cancellation runs. I mean, I know we've seen I saw districts prior to our last meeting, I think it canceled 14, 15 runs in a singular day. But obviously that's always a concern when we're looking at attendance as a need for improvement. Things along that line certainly contribute to our absentee rate, and anything that we can do to combat that certainly would be better. I can certainly talk with Mr. Klum to see if we can look at some creative solutions on that front.
Just a curiosity.
Sure.
We had talked last time about this West Virginia tutor thing and like making sure that that's part of especially of our Mr. Martin and his AP and that kind of stuff. But do you think it would be beneficial I mean, like on a, or at least for a period of time, for 2 or 3, or for the next couple months, like to send out once a month reminding parents, hey, here's something that you have as a resource. If you don't understand the question your kid's getting, I don't know. I don't know what kind of response we get from parents seeing and reading those.
We could put that on a repeat, like where Mrs. Ryan could create a message that's just put out on a repeating interval. You know, you don't want to put out every day, but like every every week and a half, 2 weeks, just as a reminder. I have continued to put that in the superintendent's update, but I think we can also send some additional reminders out to students and parents as well.
Yeah, well, I'm open to
Sure.
input just on whether or not I know I haven't.
I'm just
seen
hoping our
that as a
internet's up
parent.
tomorrow so we can do that.
Yeah. Like I said, I know about it because I see the superintendent's report, but other than that, as a parent, I wouldn't necessarily know about that resource as something when my kid asks me a question and I don't know how to do it. If I know I've got a number, I mean, maybe it being in the report cards as another thing, like your kid's struggling here, here's a resource, just part of our report card package.
We could probably run like half-page flyers or something that could be as an insert possibly, or something to that effect.
And then my last question was, I think we had talked about potentially having a work session before the Rollsburg meeting to get some, but the Rollsburg meeting is going to be at Fellows-ville. So I only bring that up to say, are we considering doing that? Are we considering doing, and if we are, do we want to make Rollsburg go to Fellows-ville for that?
No, I think we would like to schedule something in the Rollsburg community, so I think probably pre-Christmas is going to be a tough one, but I think we could certainly get something scheduled, and maybe we can have that discussion with their LSIC group as to some prospective dates and times at the Rollsburg School where we can get formal invitations out to the community as well. But we can certainly get something scheduled on that as soon as possible.
I think if we were going to do that, I just didn't know if you wanted to allow their LSIC to not have to all travel from Rollsburg to Fellows-ville, if we wanted to offer to let them go at a later date, if we thought we were going to get that in.
I can talk with Mr. Schmidl as to the possibilities of that, and that may be something we could look at. I mean, we would have to look at one of our scheduled dates at the board to move it down there. Not that we couldn't do that.
Yeah, if we were going to do that, looking ahead, because in my head I hadn't put that together until I saw it a week ago in my plan. But anyways, thank you.
So Rollsburg work session. Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, anything else? Thank you, Mr. Martin and Ms. Varner. Moving on, at this time, entertain a motion for the board to approve the service personnel agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Kisner, second by Ms. Feathers. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote.
Voting is open. Motion passes 5-0.
Next on the agenda, entertain a motion for the board to approve the professional personnel agenda, sorry.
So moved.
I should have put personnel.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Kisner, second by Mr. Tatham. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote.
Voting is open. Motion passes 5-0.
Next on the agenda is discussion information, parent notification requirements. Mr. Martin.
Yeah, Mr. Huggins, this was originally brought up by Mr. Kisner at the October 9th meeting. Basically, we had met with our Principals Association. We developed some questions that pertain to the original request. At our last board meeting, I believe we had responses from 5 of our administrators. These are responses from the other 4. Again, what we've tried to do is to allow the administrators to be able to speak freely. We've marked off to provide them some level of anonymity. I'm struggling with my get certain words out today. But I just wanted to, again, provide that feedback for the board's review. If we'd like to continue to add this as an agenda item to allow for greater discussion now, having the administrative view, we certainly can. If there's other information from other stakeholders that would want to be sought, I can certainly do that as well.
So I appreciate your efforts. I'll be honest, I have notes for some discussion in my email that I cannot access because of our internet stuff. So I would probably propose that from my standpoint, I'd like to have the discussion. I didn't print those because I didn't
Sure,
plan on
we
not
could
having
just
my.
have that on a future
Yeah,
meeting.
But I mean, I don't know that it has to be forever, but there is some follow-up discussion. I do think that I am interested in some parental input. I do see having the administrators' input. Now, I'm not saying that we have to do a full-out countywide survey, although that's always.
We can put that, no, I
But
think
it's
that
also
could
one of
be.
the things I know it takes time, and we're dependent on, parents to get back to us on that. I appreciate our administrators taking the time to respond, and I said, I do have more in-depth conversation I'd like to have, but unfortunately.
I'll continue to keep it on the agenda if that's.
Issue, I don't have that tonight.
Sure.
Okay, anything else? Okay, moving on. Next on the agenda, following the approval of the presented levy call during the 11/13/23 board meeting, Mrs. Kerstetter has worked to develop a more formal call that will ultimately require the board approval, followed by submission to the Preston County Commission for their review and potential approval to be placed on the May 2024 ballot. The attached document is a draft that's been sent to the district's legal counsel for review. The draft is included in executive content, but not placed on the agenda as an action item due to legal counsel not yet providing a review and input. This item will be placed on the 12/18/23 agenda as an action item.
And Mr. Huggins, I would say, I did receive an email from, I can't remember the gentleman's name, with Bowles Race. He indicated he felt that it would be very much in line that we could have this proposal ready for the 18th meeting. He does want to schedule a brief phone or video-based meeting with myself and Mrs. Kerstetter. I am going to present the draft version to the levy committee tomorrow just for them to review. But ultimately, we will have the finalized version for the board's review certainly by the 18th. Our council didn't feel that. He indicated he did have some suggestions on some verbiage changes. I mean, didn't seem to be anything major, some minor changes that he may want to suggest. But again, we anticipate that to definitely be available by our next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, processes and procedures for attendance.
Okay. Mr. Huggins, I know this agenda item had been placed on the agenda at the request of Mr. Tatham. The intent was for the board to gain a fuller understanding of the data related to district and individual schools' current attendance situations, current processes and procedures used to proactively and reactively address student attendance, and to begin discussions on the development of board expectations for attendance improvement. I know upon receipt of that, we had a limited number of work days, and of course our attendance director was off last week. We had 3 work days last week. So unfortunately, I don't have a tremendous amount. I did speak with Mrs. Schaefer, and if there's any level of discussion that needs to occur tonight, I'll certainly share that discussion with her via board docs, with our video clips, and I can have Mrs. Schaefer available for a future agenda to provide a presentation in line with the board's will and what they're seeking here, what information is being sought.
I'll let Mr. Tatham.
Sure.
He wants to start, and I'll tell you a couple of things I've thought about.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, for me, I'm just looking at it in consideration that the state has put the district on watch
Yes.
for attendance, and we've had high turnover in this general department area. I personally, my expectation as a board member is I'd like to see a written plan from the administration that the district, that the board approves, that specifies in writing what exactly our processes and procedures are for addressing attendance, starting from a reactionary standpoint. This would be like once you had 10 unexcused absences, what meetings, whose attends, what triggers we had, and then if you go to a CA2 meeting, if the court is involved, just writing out what that process is so it's standardized across the county.
Maybe like a flow chart, but also with a narrative as well.
A narrative, just so everyone is in agreement from all the different schools and the community knows that if you miss school, this is what's going to happen. And then provide data with it. Based on whatever meeting that we had, when it was presented to us, I think we said something, there's 150 students that currently have at least 10 unexcused, and 20 students are in the CA2 process, and approximately 54 are in the court process. But informally, I've had people come to me and say that those numbers are probably double than that. And I don't know if they are or aren't. I'm just simply
Understood.
saying I'd like to have real numbers backed up by real data that's documented, that goes along with that flow chart, so that we can start to comprehend and quantify the issue. And then, in addition to that, I'd like to have what our proactive processes are to encourage attendance.
Yep.
And then beyond that, I'd like to have discussion in consideration that we are on watch by the district, by the state. I would hate to see our county board be taken over by the state for lack of improvement, of us discussing bringing in an outside consultant, auditor, whatever you want to call it, to provide an assessment to the board on how we should deal with the attendance issues. I'm assuming that this is not a novel problem, that other boards in the state have had similar issues. There's probably outside specialists that can deal with this and give us a true assessment on it.
Agreed. There's 17 districts in the same circumstance we are currently, and there's a total of 53 or 55 West Virginia districts that are either at the level we are, which are 17 districts, and the remainder, bringing up the total to 53, is that on watch status. So certainly a lot of districts are working through this process right now, so hopefully we can reach out and get some resources to also provide us some technical assistance on how to best combat this. Okay.
The only thing I actually agree with what Mr. Tatham, especially the real numbers, because again, you hear everything, and when you're told one thing versus what you're hearing is something different, it's hard for us to answer questions.
Sure.
And I think that's what Mr. Tatham's saying. And the second part with that, with his flow chart, I never thought of that. That's a real good idea. But because coming from the school system, I kind of understand what the flow chart is without doing it. But it also gives support to our administrators, and we're supporting you with the attendance. And I think that's what we've tried since everybody's been here, is try to make sure that our administration knows we're behind you. And I think that's another one of those that it will prove that, yeah, we're trying to help you as well.
One thing I would say too, a lot of those documents currently exist, so we can certainly pull those for the board's review. In our Teams channels, for example, we have a student support section. So a lot of this, we're not going to have to necessarily recreate the wheel with this, but we can. I think I have a good understanding of what's being sought here, and can work in conjunction with Mrs. Schaefer and her team to get a good presentation for you.
Well, it just answers. That's the best part. So when somebody says something, we can say, that's not right. We've got hard facts.
Absolutely.
Versus, I don't know.
Just reiterate what I did last meeting. I think any amount of time and resources into this is a waste of time and resources. You either understand as a parent and feel it is important for your student to be in school, or you don't. And you are not going to re-educate that. So I just say, I think the idea of putting a bunch of employee hours into this, I would be opposed to. I don't think you're going to get anything back for your money.
Well, unfortunately, I agree in the basic premise, but unfortunately, the state doesn't.
And I'm willing to sit across from the state and tell them they're foolish. And that's all I'm saying.
I agree. I understand.
I appreciate it's not lack of caring. I just believe that there are better places for our time and money to be spent. And that's all I'm trying to iterate, just as another opinion in the discussion. I appreciate and respect Mr. Tatham's opinion and yours and your views, but I just think that we are constrained on resources, manpower, hours, financial, all of that. And so everything that central office or administrators are going to do that, I don't think you're going to get anything from.
I think my response to that would be, you could say the same analogy would apply to vaping or THC vaping, that common sense would say that students shouldn't be doing it in the bathroom or on buses, and it's illegal because you're not 18 years of age. But we had a work session last year where we had the sheriff's office, and we had the court staff here, and we had the magistrate's office, and then we combined that with training our administrators and adding in vape detectors. And then we communicate to students that if you break the law, with using a vape device, just like if you break the law by not going to school, this is what's going to happen to you. And everyone, as you can see, is on board of enforcing the law. It may take a little bit of time and money to communicate and document that process, but I think down the road in 2, 5, 10 years, we'll see that it saves us much more in resources. Because if we can get students into class without them having 10 unexcused absences first, and having the meetings that we're going to have regardless and sucking up staff resources, it will save us money in the long run. And so my comment is that I wish it could be as easy as you're making it out to be, that parents just do the right thing and make sure their kid goes to school. Just like I wish that parents would do the right thing and make sure that their kid doesn't have access to a vape pen and their kid not going into the bathroom and doing it. But we're going to have to do the work on our own. And I think this is just a process of formalizing it, bringing the information together, and communicate to everyone that this is our standard and we will enforce it.
And good discussion on both sides. Thank you, and we will move on. There's nothing on it under educational leave.
No policies.
No out-of-state field trip.
Nope.
No chaperone list.
Nope.
Professional meeting.
We have 2.
Okay, you don't have, okay, so
Oh, shoot.
at this time, I entertain a motion to approve the professional meetings that are listed.
So moved.
Second. On this, Bruce. I'm sorry.
Moved by Mr. Tatham. Who seconded? I didn't hear. Mr. Ziegler. Thank you. I didn't hear you did it. So give Mr. Martin a chance to type this in.
And that was Mr. Ziegler.
Yeah, seconded by Mr. Ziegler.
Oh, by Mr. Tatham.
Mr.
not by
Tatham made the motion. Mr. Ziegler second.
Okay, I'm ready. We
Okay.
have to take a voice vote on this, Mr. Huggins. I'm sorry.
Okay. Any questions or discussions from it?
So,
Okay,
I'm sorry.
that's okay.
I do have some concerns about these 2 trips. I think this is a lot of money for a trip focusing on looking for the appropriate trauma-sensitive schools. I think that the percentage of our kids that that's going to affect and what the changes you have to make for that, it just does not make sense to me. Now, that's a minor one. That is my opposition. That's where I stand on it. I just don't see that investment, again, paying out to the system. The second one I have much bigger concerns on. I am not in any way, shape, or form saying I've drunk the Kool-Aid on the science of reading. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I think we need to intentionally be making sure our children can read. But the state has made it clear science of reading is what we are going to follow. We have committed, by my understanding, to following what they're saying that we are going to follow. Your 3 keynote speakers, and there are 3 of them at this second conference. Mr. Reynolds runs a program called Reading Recovery that takes donations to fight science of reading. He is the 3rd keynote speaker. The 2nd keynote speaker is a man by the name of Peter Johnson, who is the forefront of arguing that the science of reading is complete hooey. He is one of 2 people that is at the forefront of that argument. And the 1st keynote speaker, I don't know anything about where he stands on this, other than his main focus is hip-hop, and I don't believe that that is the predominant music of our county. And I could be wrong on that, but that's not the demographic I think of in Preston County. So they may all be excellent speakers. They may have something useful that we get from them. But we're going to be spending a lot of money to send some people to some training that at least 2 of their 3 main head leaders, if you look at their website and you look at those 3 people that are their headliners, the big names in it, are opposed to what we're investing in. So to me, this seems counter to that investment. I am not an educator. I don't know anything about education. I know how to do a little bit of research. This is just what I see, and this is my concern about backing that trip, or these 2 trips in the case of what my opinion is on those investments.
Would that be the LitCon one you're referring to, the second one?
Yes.
Ohio?
Yes. I don't know how these get proposed. I don't know I don't know if teachers just find them and say, hey, can we go do this? I don't know. And again, maybe they won't say a single thing against science of reading, but that's what, if you look at their names and look into them, that's what they're associated with.
Ms. Kisner, I would say is, based upon the timing of this, I could come back at the meeting on the 18th, maybe properly vet this, run this through resources at the state level to see if this conference, if this is truly at odds. I understand the potential concerns there. We do have time to further vet this, if that would be the will of the board in this instance.
That's just again,
Understood.
a little bit that I've done. I'm not saying the conference has anything against science of reading, just generally your headliners are going to set some kind of a tone.
Sure.
I make a motion that we table this to the next meeting.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Tatham and seconded by Ms. Feathers to table this until next meeting, which will allow Mr. Martin time to find out for sure about these conferences.
Okay.
Okay.
We have to take a vote on that.
Yeah, there's have to be a verbal vote.
The only discussion point I'd point out is, again, I have presented separate cases for both instances. Just making sure that the board is thinking through, you have the ability to separate these two things into two votes. I personally know where I stand on them, but just keep in mind, if you guys wanted to do one or the other, that could be made, not just to present.
On the agenda, there's no type, it doesn't say an action.
Yeah, as I said, unfortunately, that's said.
I don't think we can vote on, I don't think we can approve either one this evening.
So we can just table it to which is there, but it's still verbal, it's still a
Okay.
verbal vote. So at this time,
We're voting now.
your vote, yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
yes.
Okay,
And we
5-0.
voted to table.
Table to the next meeting, and I'll bring forth additional information. And I apologize, when I'm setting this, it is taking off the check marks when I'm there's an issue with the system. I will try to get that corrected. That they've noted a problem with the, I don't know what it's called, the packets or something that I need to, it's something I'm going to need to update to clear my cache because it is removing these check items. I apologize about not being marked for this particular agenda item.
It's all right, it worked out.
Yeah, in this instance it did.
It worked out perfect, so
Yes.
it's not a big deal. Okay, next is the information is ongoing literacy discussion.
Mr. Huggins, Mrs. McDonald did not really have a tremendous amount to spy on this. What I did provide for the board's review, though, these are just resources that are pulled from the Department of Education's Ready, Read, Write website. So these are resources. This is just a link to that site. It's also resources for parents, for administrators, and teachers. I thought that would be helpful for the board to, if they hadn't reviewed those resources already, to make those available for the board's review.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is an informational on the levy check report. Are there any questions for Mr. Martin on it?
I had one. There was a $13 reimbursement for travel. I know there's a levy call that for, I think, instructional supplies that can be used for transportation. Is that what it's for?
I'm looking here, Mr. Tatham.
I'm sorry, for virtual school and alternative education.
$13.10.
I know it's a tiny amount, but what call is that coming out of?
Probably professional development. It could have been potentially under some, honestly, I'll have to get clarification as to the specific coding, Mr. Tatham. I'm not certain.
Do we reimburse coaches for when they have to travel between?
Well, I'm just wondering, is Mrs. Kelly's, her position is funded via the levy in regards to the virtual education program. It may be potentially pulled from that line item fund.
That's fine for this, because that's the only one that has transportation.
I'll check on that. I'm just not certain in terms of what coding is available to me there. I can certainly check on where that was pulled. I would venture to say that was pulled from the virtual education fund, which Mrs. Kelly is funded directly from that. I mean, her salary is pulled from that. I believe so. And we're still trying to get that it is still, you can notice it's very difficult, the actual weekly space program. So I still type, Mr. Science has tried to remedy that issue, but it prints out, it's very difficult to read. So until we can get that resolved, I'm just making sure that you have a good legible report to read from.
I do appreciate that.
Because it's hard to read otherwise.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, hearing none, next is the school allocation balances. It's for information as well. Any questions on that?
And Mr. Huggins, this is again just
Information.
it's informational, and we will post this at the second board meeting of the month. We should be able to have this, though, at the December meeting with only having a singular meeting. But this is just giving us updates in terms of the levy spending of each of our schools in each of the three major categories.
And please thank the accounting staff. I hope they have been thanked before, but I think it makes a big difference for our schools to know where they're at. It helps us to see some of that transparency.
Appreciate that. I will pass that along to their staff.
Anything else? Okay, hearing none. Next, I entertain a motion to approve the schedule of checks.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Kisner, second by Mr. Tatham. Any questions or comments?
The only question I had, Mr. Martin, was $33,000 to Edmentum, and it says library, I just lost it, library program software at PHS. Would that mean, are we really keeping software in the library?
I don't think that's specific to the library. I will get clarification. What was the amount again, Mr. Kisner?
It's Edmentum for $33,525.
Edmentum. 33, what was that last amount?
525.
525. And it's referencing a library of what?
It says library program software, PHS.
I will get clarification on that, Mr. Kisner, and I'll send you a response, and I'll make sure to CC the other board members. I'm not certain, in terms of Edmentum Library, I mean, it could be...
Maybe it's a library of software for other things.
Well,
The way it reads is as if it's for the PHS library.
Well, it's almost like the lesson platforms that are available there. I don't think it's per se like library software. I don't know why it's reading that way, but I'll get clarification specifically to that expense and advise the board.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, since that's over the threshold of 25,000, would that have to come to the board for approval as a line item? I mean, before we're writing a check for it?
I mean, typically they've run through here, but if in terms of that specific, I don't know if this is part of a larger contract, Mr. Tatham. I'm going to have to get clarification. I'm sorry I don't have that specific tonight, but.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, call for the vote.
Okay, well,
Sorry.
that's okay. Voting is open. Motion passes 5-0, and like I said, I'll make sure to get the board clarification on some of these questions.
Okay, next on the agenda is informational only, maintenance work order system. Any questions or comments there?
Did you find anything out about the lights around the vocational school?
I believe that they've all been resolved. I checked. It was weird when you had mentioned that. The two down on the end were lighting up in an appropriate, the ones further back. I believe Mr. Holleran has gone around and made adjustments on the timers, and we are at an appropriate time. Because I drove through the other night, and it was like 5:30, and they were on, which is about what time you want them coming on right now.
I'll be there tomorrow. So.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, and the importance too of that, not because you're going to be there, but because of winter sporting events.
Sure.
You know, when we have people walking, we need those lights out there. That's huge. So not picking on you, Mr. Tatham.
Yep.
Any other
I'll
questions?
follow up with Mr. Holleran to be sure that they've all been addressed, but I drove around the facility. I believe we are in good shape on that, but I'll double check tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any questions, anything else on maintenance?
Why is it so cold in this one?
Well, part of the problem is when they run those, that'll circulate the heat and they're very loud. So I'm assuming Mrs.
Now,
We didn't want to have those on because it would be kind of difficult to hear.
I thought, Ms. Paisley, you thought that would make us go faster. It's always cold in this room.
I'll just say it's the most comfortable meeting I've been in, so.
I like the cool ones. I finally did put my jacket on.
Two quick things here. First of all, is there anything added onto the agenda for, remember, it's not till December 18th. There's only one meeting in December. Is there anything other than what we've talked about tonight?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
At the last meeting, we had the workshop beforehand. We mentioned tabling it. Have we picked a table day? Is that gonna be?
I think we'll do it at the January meeting,
January,
Colson,
right.
because we have that, it's another 10 a.m. meeting.
Okay.
So we could schedule, and we may want to probably schedule a little additional time.
Okay.
You talked about
We were a
doing that
we were a
tonight.
little tight on that last
Yeah,
week.
no, that's the only thing.
Yeah.
Me and Mario.
Okay.
And-
Oh, and I'll say Mr. Sabone is representing the county at the National 4-H conference. So she's in Atlanta, Georgia tonight. She had texted me this morning and said she was going to be unavailable to be here tonight.
That was one of the things I wanted to
Oh,
add.
sorry, Mr. Doug, I
No,
didn't mean to steal your thunder there.
No, but I think it's important, two reasons. Number one, as a student board member, but number two, how she's representing us
Absolutely.
elsewhere. The second thing, and I wish I'd have thought of it when Mr. Martin was here, the other Mr. Martin, one of three, but the service employees with the positive, whatever, I forget what his program's called. Okay, that's something that with the other schools, maybe we need to look at, because one of the things that all of us believe, and I've heard you say it many times, so I know you believe it, is that we're all a team. Those service employees are part of our team. So
Sure.
them being able to give those, whatever they're called, being able to get into it, I think that's really important. I thought that was a neat idea myself. Just something to talk maybe to the principals about.
Sure.
Maybe the bus drivers don't want to do that, but
Some of them would.
But it makes them a part of.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. And our custodians, our cooks, the cooks in particular, they're always important. I'm not taking away from the other, but
No, I
because
understand.
the food, the kids you ask them, that's always number one. It is. I mean,
You're right.
so anyhow, that was just a quick comment, and I forgot to tell Mr. Paul Martin that. So anything else? Hearing nothing, I entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move. Second.
Moved by Mr. Kisner, second by Mr. Zigray. Any discussion? Hearing none.
Voting
Call
is
for the
open.
vote. That's one of the few times I will do that. Miss Feathers used to always vote no. And after we got long meetings, she's the
I don't
first
do that
yes.
anymore.
Motion passes 5-0, and it is 9:09.
Ms. Peasley and Mrs. Brewer, but thank you very much again, Ms. Zigray. Your kids did great.
They did.
So make sure you thank them again for us. I know they're all in school, but you do I forgot what it's called. She does the student council.
Student council, but they did the Stomp News thing. That was
And
me.
the Stomp News.